Welcome back to another episode of the Missing Triggers podcast. Good evening, Sebastian. It's been a minute
Good
since we've
evening.
done one of these.
I know, it has.
And that's going to actually tie into this entire episode, or at least the first question. We got asked a question, and I think it's really good to start off with this topic. We'll wait a second on it. But, it's been like 2-3 weeks since we've done one of these.
It has.
And how have you been? What have you been up to? What kind of FAB have you done the last couple weeks?
Speaking of the question, not a lot. I guess going. I've been going to more locals, but as far as online testing goes and everything, the first 2 days I was kind of at it with Icelander, and then after that I was just like, I don't know if it's the Pro Tour or just tired of TTS, how like clunky it is. I'm just a little tired of grinding FAB online. It just hurts me a little in the inside to go on and log in on TTS right now.
I feel that 100%. We just finished. We just did one RTN last week, Road to Nationals. We didn't do well, but we'll get into that. We'll get into the reasons why. We didn't do well.
We all know it's tradition for me to always scrub out my first tournament of the season. Like, it always happens.
Oh, I mean, it's bound to happen, and like usually the first one's where it's gonna happen, right? Yeah. So we got to ask this question. Usually, we in our Discord, in our Patreon Discord, in our Card Guys Discord, we right before we go live with the pod or we record. The first thing we ask is if anybody wants us to go over any topics or has any questions they want answered. And so usually we do like Q&A at the end of the episode. And before we get into it, I just want everyone to stop what you're doing real quick. Click like on the video. If you're listening on Spotify, we appreciate you. If you're listening on YouTube and you might think Spotify is a little better for you, there's a link in the description. Puts you straight into our Spotify playlist so you can listen to every single episode on Spotify. And also consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. We're going to start doing more content with this very soon. We're working on branding, working on quite a few things. And, we've gotten a lot of good responses from a lot of the community in regards to the podcast. And it fucking humbles the shit out of us. We're so happy that, the people who do listen enjoy it. So, yeah.
It's still not there for me yet when people are like, I love your podcast. I'm like, I'm just talking, I'm like, yeah. I can have the same conversation with you right now.
Yeah. Like, shout out to Logan. Had dinner with Logan after the RTN and his fiance. Wonderful people. And he came up to me and said, I enjoy y'all's podcast. And, we haven't had a person come up to either one of us, right? And then say those words for the most part, other than like a couple people, like local friends. And then, tell you and then talk about like our chemistry together and like how we talk and all this other stuff. It kind of just opened up, like it opens my eyes to like, the impact that we're making. So
exactly. And that was the crazy thing for me is that he didn't like you said, like there's been locals and stuff that come up to us and said, I've really enjoyed the podcast. I've heard that from multiple people, but he was the first person who goes, I enjoy it and I look forward to the next one. And that's what really got me. I'm like, damn, someone, even if it's just one person out there enjoys this enough to look forward to the next one. That's crazy to me.
Oh, for sure. Let's get into the first question. And again, this is going to be the title of the podcast. I think it's really necessary for a lot of people and a lot of walks of life, and when you're trying to prioritize things and stuff. And shout out to Justin, that's my home dog, local player, becoming a really good friend. Justin Evans, shout out to you, Better Justin, as we like to call him. Good Justin, exactly. He asked, how do you guys balance life and Flesh and Blood? And I actually read this earlier today, and I kind of contemplated like how I'm going to answer it, right? Because like for a lot of people, probably more than the majority of people who play Flesh and Blood, other than their 9 to 5, this is it. Like that's their life, right? Like that's something that they wake up in the morning, get to the Discord, talk to people on the Discord, all day during their breaks or when if they can have their phone at work, they're more than likely listening to Flesh and Blood, and they're on Twitter and they're on YouTube and they're consuming as much Flesh and Blood content. Um, why don't you go first, Sebastian? Like, what are you doing to balance your life and Fab, or is Fab your life?
Yeah, I think you kind of answered it there. And this is what I do on purpose, where card games are pretty much my life. While someone else might, you know, when they're bored, go play Xbox or something like that. I actually don't play video games. If I'm not, you know, playing FAB or, playing a different card game online, I'm, like you said, consuming content about it, going on Twitter. The only thing I do as a time waster is just like go on YouTube and, Instagram Reel, TikTok rabbit holes. But other than that, it's just pretty much I don't balance it. The best part of my day is talking about Flesh and Blood, consuming card game content, and just playing card games. Like, I would say card games to me, it's more than just a part of my personality. It's just like,
Oh, dude, for sure. Like, it's definitely a part of
part of me.
it just becomes a part of you, right? Like that's just um I for me it's a little different, right? And again, like I said, I just prefaced it. It's weirder for me to answer because I'm like trying to run a company that's evolved around like esport or not esports, but competitive card gaming, which is like modeled after like these esports organizations and stuff. So, um, yeah, like essentially, it's it is my life, but like in a different way than most people, right? Um,
Yeah.
I kind of. By the way, that's better. Um, so I it's so hard to answer. And like in 2014, 2015, when I made like the cart guides and stuff, and we started making a team, I kind of had this like goal where I wanted this to be like, I wanted to mimic TSM in a certain way or mimic. If anybody, the OGs, they remember like Optic Gaming. It's obviously they're still around, or 100 Thieves, because people nowadays know who 100 Thieves are. Um, I kind of want to work at it to where it eventually gets to that point, right? Like where I wake up, I think about Flesh and Blood. I think about my YouTube channel. I think about the brand, but I'm also thinking about Flesh and Blood and how we can improve everyone else's experience in Flesh and Blood and how we can give back and give knowledge to people. And like that's kind of where I'm at, right? Like I'm at the crossroads in my life too, where I've got a lot of other stuff going on, but at the same time, I'm still treating this kind of like a full time job because of where I see this business going in the future, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with it, right? Like, it is my life, and I do balance it a little bit with, um, sometimes not, talking to anybody and kind of just staying away for a day. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that's
Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to just take a little break. That's what I've been doing these last 2 weeks. Not being on TTS, just going to locals, practicing draft and limited, and you know, not really even practicing CC, and just taking it easy. But then these last 2 days before this road to national, we're gonna be, you know, grinding down and making something work.
yeah. The way to balance it is if you feel like you've had enough for a little bit, take a day or two off.
Yeah,
Revisit it. If it's still there, take another day off. Revisit it later. It's always going to be there, right? Like any card game you play, it's always going to be there. So, like,
and
if you need your own time, take your time to do you, boo. You know?
exactly. And I think it's kind of crazy, right? That once you're a card game player, let's just say right now, me and you dropped everything and
I
stopped
know where
playing
you're
Flesh
going.
and Blood.
Yeah,
The itch never goes away, man.
it
Like
fucking never goes
it,
away, bro.
we'll be if this game dies tomorrow, we'll be playing Pokemon or Magic or Yugi, just something else within 3 to 6 months, man. Like we'll take our time, give it a moment of silence, and we'll be like, all right, back on the grind.
Back on to
I have
play
to.
something. Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's weird because they don't consider card games like an esport or something like that. like for example, if you're a person who's like, yeah, I want to be super competitive and everything, you have to think of someone who's the average league pro, right? They are playing 8 to 12 hours a day. Like their job is playing League of Legends. So like when you think it's crazy that someone consumes 5 hours of content or of Flesh and Blood and plays a local, a couple nights a week, and you're like, man, how do you? That's a lot. You must have all the free time in the world. It's like, yo, this is just the regular, grinder for any kind of video game, or
Oh, for sure, for sure. It's
this
the
is
same
just the
exact
regular.
mentality. Same exact
Exactly.
mentality.
It really is.
Yeah. So in the comments below, tell me how you balance life and Flesh and Blood, or life and Magic, or life where whatever game you play, right? Or life and video games. If you play Warzone, Apex, Valorant, CS:GO, whatever you play, how do you balance it? What do you do? Maybe we could learn from it, and we could learn how to take like a healthy couple day break from things, and all grow as individuals. But Sebastian, let's get into the real nitty gritty of shit.
Okay, I'm ready.
Um, Before we talk about Uprising Limited as a whole, let's
Yeah.
talk about our RTN that we experienced last weekend.
Uh, Basically, I love the idea of draft RTNs, but the only problem with it is when you're not drafting at a super competitive level, right? A lot of shit goes wrong in those pods.
Tell me about it, brother.
Um, I mean, it's just as simple as people are new, they don't know what the cards do yet, and they're having fun. And even though there's 3 other people drafting a hero in a 3 hero draft format, pick pack two, they go mid pack two, they go, yeah, I'm gonna pivot and fuck everyone else over, then pull the fabled, and then leave the tournament, and then just hate draft 3 people at the table who were in
Wait,
the
hold
two
on,
one
hold on.
pod.
Did he pull the Fabled too?
Yes, he pulled the fabled and then left. And then so he just hate drafted 3 people that are in the 2-1 pod that have a chance of making top 8 and
Oh
left.
my god.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so to preface this for people, so we drove 5.5 hours
yep.
to play
To
Flesh and
play
Blood,
yep.
to play draft Flesh and Blood, which, in a vacuum, that's cool. That's awesome. Like, we're going to play draft. Like, we get practice. It is a little difficult when people are trying to get their invite to nationals. I can understand this on a skirmish level.
Yep.
I can
Exactly.
100% understand this on a skirmish level. But when you're giving out invites to a very prestigious tournament in your country, and people are driving, and this isn't just me, granted, sure, 4 of us did drive 5.5 hours, or 6 of us drove like 5.5 hours. It really sucks to get into a pod where 4 people have never really drafted at Flesh and Blood before. And unfortunately, with my first pod, I had two or three seasoned players in my pod. Myself, guy to my right, guy in front of me, and the guy beside the guy in front of me to the left. And then everybody else, to my knowledge, did not know what they were doing. We got through pack one. We got through pack one passing left. Matt W's on my right. And I'm like, okay, he's sending me sure signals and passing me cards that I can use. And then going back the other way, I'm not dicking him out of anything because I still need my cards. And like everything seemed fine going into pack two. I'm like, this is great. This is awesome. And then all of a sudden, I started seeing no cards. The first 4 cards out of pack 2 were good. Like, my deck is looking pretty decent. And then all of a sudden, nothing's getting past my way. Absolutely nothing is getting past my way. And then going into pack 3, the same exact thing happened. Nothing is getting past my way. So now I'm sitting here with a FAB deck that, to my knowledge, I'm getting past most of the time, a little bit less than half the pack coming to my right. I'm getting FI cards. Like I'm being presented with cards I can use.
Yeah.
And then also vice versa to the left. From the way I calculated this, 3 different people pivoted mid pack 2. The guy that I'm playing, I'm in the middle right, and the guy that I'm playing looks at me, and I look at him, and he goes, "Are you fucked?" And I just bust out laughing. And there were 3 people. There was one guy who pivoted from Phi to Dromai, and there were 2 people that pivoted that went from Icelander to Phi, where it left 5 Phi players, 2 Dromai players, and then 1 Icelander player. Where every single Phi player and one of the Dromai players had cracked baubles in their deck. I had 3 cracked baubles in my deck. Everybody else did as well. And I'm like, I don't get that. Dude, I legitimately don't understand. And so I unfortunately ended up going 1 and 2. I played against one of the Dromai players, and granted, like, this was a super fucking high roll. I'm not complaining about this, but this is wild. He, like, turn 0, ditches all his reds, sets Dominia, has 3 Ash, and then goes Dominia, Vincerakai. Hits a red, hits the card out of my hand that actually can kill his Dominia, Vincerakai's me for 6 because one of my cards is a Phoenix Flame, hits me, does 3 more to me, and I can't kill the Dominia. He kills me with the Vincerakai. Yep. But that's besides the point. But so I ended up I had a deck that I thought that I could go 2-1 with. Due to the caliber of players in my pod, I felt comfortable with going 2-1, even with cracked baubles in my deck. But because the cracked baubles are in the deck, it scuffed everything for everybody. Oh, yeah. And then going into pod 2, I want to tell my story after this, but what you said previously, you had a guy start hate drafting mid pack 2, pulled the Fabled, and just dipped and didn't say anything. So it screwed every pod, and Nam ended up playing somebody from a pod in a different, or playing somebody in a different pod because that guy dropped.
Yeah, so that's how crazy it really was. And I have no problem with someone being new to the game.
Same.
It's just like, and this isn't shitting on people. Yeah, you're new to the game, you're new to drafts. I understand. It's just, and I'm complaining from the standpoint of, like you said, this is we're playing for an invite of something, and like, you know, I was a 2-1, but I just got thrown into the 1-2 pod, and I got a little unfortunate, and you know, I drafted my seat pretty well. And the unfortunate thing about Uprising is it's not like a regular draft set. Pack 2, man, you're locked in. Even if everyone pivots Pack 2, which, if you're a new player, we're here to help you, elevate you on your gameplay and everything. Please don't fucking pivot Pack 2. Like, you're screwing not only yourself over, but every other person playing that hero. And I know some people are going to be like, no, you can pivot to Pack 2. It's like, you really can't. Like,
oh, you literally, if you're not, if in this set, and like we could go into depth with this with like the group later on like the main channel, but if you're not solidified on a deck at the very fucking latest pick 5, you have fucked everybody, or at least a couple people in the pod. You have completely screwed it, screwed the pooch. And like, it's weird to think, but like, you have to.
That I wouldn't be. It's not even like I'm upset if I'm one of those players. It's just like, my question is, why are you doing this to yourself, man? You're making yourself ensure the 1-2. You know, you're like, not only are you screwing me over, you're screwing yourself over, dude. You know, like, why take us both down with cracked baubles? You know?
Yeah, like. Also, I can say this because I'm also fat. Shout out to FAB Fitness Challenge, Brandon, and Hayden. You guys are doing some awesome shit over there in Arsenal Pass. I appreciate you guys. But this fat dude was behind me, walking past me, and he smelled like sour vinegar. And I just want to, I really wanted to give him a fucking Missing Triggers business card that also said wash your pits, brush your teeth, and wipe your ass, because he smelled like fucking shit. Okay, and it made me nauseous. I just wanted to put that out there. It was awful. I got lightheaded for a second, and the guy that I was playing looked at me. He goes, "You smell that?" And I'm like, "Unfortunately," and it was bad. So shout out to that fat guy, because damn it, you need to shower. But okay, I digress. That was just on my mind. I had to say it because Jesus, dude, it might have been worse than you know who. That's all I'm gonna
Yeah.
say. Um,
Oh, I know, but I
oh
think that
God,
pretty much. Oh, another thing I have a problem about Uprising Scuff draft pods is if you play anything other than 8-player pods in Uprising, it is a Scuff draft,
oh
100%.
it's a nightmare. It's
It's
a
a
nightmare.
nightmare. Like I am actually taking the standpoint of if I go to a locals and I pay $15 and they say you
18.
are in a yeah $18 or whatever, and you're going into a less than 8-player pod that's not 7. I'll accept a 7-player, but if they go less than that, I'm going to say I'm opening up my packs and I'm leaving. Um, like or give me my refund because it's literally just not worth to play 6-man pods in this game.
It really
Uprising,
isn't.
sorry.
Mhm.
It it's
It really isn't.
it just gets so crazy because how the packs wheel and everything, and it's almost impossible to read. Like it's actually awful. So
Now, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea here with what
oh
we're
yeah,
talking about.
love
I
flesh and blood,
think,
love new
I
players.
think, I think this pack, this set is great for drafting.
Oh,
I think,
100%.
I think it's incredible.
I think if every person at that pod has half a mind not to pivot pack two, that's the only thing. It's not even a new player thing. It's just like don't pivot pack two. That's it. It's like that's the only thing. It's like if every person in there just doesn't pivot pack one. I mean, if something is really crazy open, like you have seen in every single pack, maybe 2 or 3 Icelander blue cards, and you're like, there's not one person at this table who's on Icelander, then sure. But if you see like 2 Fi cards and you're like, damn, I guess Fi's open, it's like, no. Because there's like 5 cards to pack. You saw like the pickings of 2, 3, 5 players who couldn't take that Ronin Renegade Red, bro because there was 3 other good red 5 cards in that.
Like actually, right?
Yeah,
Um,
people go, well, I saw good red 5 cards. It's like, bro, the whole set is just 5 bulk. Let's be honest here.
I mean, it is. I mean, it definitely is. I mean, again, like I said, don't get it twisted. I think this is a very skillful draft.
Oh,
It's very
100%.
fun. I've played a few pods with knowledgeable players,
My first
and
draft pod of this
uh
RTN, very good. I drafted my seat, and I made the correct choice, but I played against round one a Dromai player, super good Dromai player, and I was playing Icelander, so that's just like the match I lose, and I play the Icelander mirror, had a good Icelander, my Icelander deck was better, and then played Fi and did Icelander things. I'm like, yeah, this is how a draft pod is supposed to go.
yeah,
I'm like, this is
yeah.
this is what's supposed to happen.
I want to say the first pod I played was Gubu the Saturday beforehand, right?
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken, or the Thursday beforehand. I ended up going
great draft.
3-0. You and I, that 8-person pod was great.
Oh yeah,
Like everybody knew what they were doing. Had Alex Hahn there, had Eric and Kaylee playing. You and Briggs hadn't played in a while, but also Will was in there. Like we had knowledgeable people knowing what they were doing, and like our match was fucking close as hell.
oh dude, like yeah, it
Dude,
was insane. My Dromai
and
deck was insane.
your
But,
draw my deck was crazy. And I mean, I just did 5 things, unfortunately, and that was just
yeah,
it was that little bit that got over the edge. But like, um, it's neat to see like you know how your deck can perform after you just built it. I don't know, it's just a really neat concept, and I've never drafted any other card game, and so this has been such an eye opening experience to say the least. I do have a story though. I think this is a pretty neat story. Um, I'm just gonna stick
go
with
into
it
it, man.
because this is my
Yeah,
story.
go into it.
So right. Uh, so going into pre-release season for the pre-releases, I was telling it was about 2 weeks, a week and a half, 2 weeks out, and I was saying this like every day to Sebastian, every day to Nam. I'm like, I'm pulling the cold foil fable. I'm pulling the cold foil fable. I deserve it. I'm pulling the cold foil fable. Like I was spilling it into existence. It was happening. It didn't happen. It didn't fucking happen. I was like, wow, manifesting. I was like, manifesting's bullshit. I don't want to do this ever again. so so uh so we get to the RTN and we finished our first round. And of course, I'm a little upset, like because I went 1-2 in a pod where half the people, if to me, felt like they didn't know what they were doing, and we all got it. People screwed the pooch, and we had crack bubbles in our deck. So we sit down for draft 2 or pod 2 or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and everybody gets their packs passed out, and I'm like, they're passing it to me, but I don't know why, because I was like third on one row, so I'm passing it to other people to make sure everybody has their packs. And they automatically assumed I had my packs, and so I'd grabbed a whole bunch of packs. And so they proceeded to take the box and go throw it away. So when they were about to ready to draft, I'm like, yo, I don't have packs. I think there's going to be 3 more packs in there. So they go and get the 3 packs out of the box in the trash can, and then bring them to me and hand me the packs. And they're like, all right, let's go draft. Pack 1 pulls the Fabled, Cold Foil Fabled. And when I fucking tell you, Sebastian, that I felt like Charlie and Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, I did. I got the fucking golden ticket. I got that thing.
I told you it was going to happen too. I was like, yeah, dude, you're going to get it.
It's like, I didn't believe you, but like, it was neat. I've never pulled a Cold Foil Fabled. That's so cool. I sold it because that's money, but like, that was so cool. They're like, I did it. Manifestation, you know, it had a little fucking delay, but like it happened, you know what I'm saying?
Dude,
so we got to give it a month now. I've realized you were for a month and a half saying that, hey, it's crazy that we're going to come back with a gold foil at Las Vegas. And you gave it time, and that 2-month time period, it happened. So now I got to give shit a 2-month time period, and shit's going to start happening. All right, I've cracked the code.
I wish I could go ahead and start manifesting nationals, but we don't know the time, when, and the location.
Oh, dude, what a fucking segue. That just made me so excited. God, you're so good at this game. Like,
I know.
What is going on, dude? We don't know any date for nationals of anywhere or location, but we're getting all these updates that are Battle Hard in Syracuse, Battle Hard in Toronto, Battle Hard in Saskatchewan, you know, whatever the fuck it is. Battle Hard in LA, Portland, Oregon. What the fuck? I have seen, all offense to the people who live in Portland, Oregon, like, get out. I have seen nothing but bad news about that place. And you want to put a Flesh and Blood tournament there? Sorry, I'm on one tonight. But like, what? Give the Southeast some love. This is my theory.
Oh my god, dude. It's crazy because you have Florida, huge player base, Georgia, huge player base, Alabama, good player base, North and South Carolina, big player base over there,
Tennessee, good player base. There is a very good amount of people in the Southeast that will get a turnout. But my thing is this. So I feel like since it seems to me by looking at this, a lot of third parties are running these tournaments, not like stores, but like YouTube channels and like other stuff are running these tournaments. And it's a little weird to me because we've run tournaments before. Like Alex and I are known for running like local tournaments and stuff. And so why wouldn't they want to hit us up for something like that and like for us to do something? And it hit me when I talked to Alan at the Pro Tour, when they were like, hey, you know, Worlds is going to be in the United States. I went up to Alan Hale. Alan, like you, buddy. Love you, buddy. Finally happy I got to meet you. He's like our best friend. I looked at him and said, Alan, I hear Atlanta's got some good weather, huh? And I winked at him. And he goes, all right, mate, I can't tell you about my secrets. And I'm like, oh, no. And he winked at me. He winked back at me, bro. And so my initial thoughts when that entire encounter happened is that we possibly could have Worlds in Atlanta, which also seems logical. Like, not as like I'm biased, I'm from Atlanta, it would be easy on my wallet. Like, but actually, it seems like a very good place to have a Nationals or a Worlds.
If Nationals or Worlds is not in the Southeast, like, I will. I mean, I don't know. I'll
That's
give you
kind
$5
of upsetting. Yeah, give me $5. I'll take that. No, but like Like it's weird. I really do hope that one of them is in like this, at least the southeast, right? Like you could do like Charlotte, North Carolina, or you could do Nashville, Tennessee for like nationals or something like that.
Exactly.
And then
Yeah.
like Worlds could be in Atlanta, you know, because like we have Delta, we have a huge international airport, a huge one. So like,
Yeah, I definitely think that it just solidifies it even more that the fact that we're not getting a battle hardened, because if you think of it about it, like if they wanted to do a Southeast battle hardened, they just hit up Spencer, you know,
they
hit up
literally hit
Spencer,
up Spencer. Exactly.
and he makes it happen. He either does in Alabama. He said he would throw a big, you know, event in Atlanta if they ever came to him and asked. So that's exactly what he would do. So I'm just under the impression that they're holding it off for a reason.
They have to be. And like obviously we're hopeful because we want it to happen, right? Like that's something that would, I mean, like even anybody in the southeast. Like I asked people from Tennessee, North Carolina, Florida, Alabama, they're all like Atlanta would be insane. That would be like the probably one of the biggest turnouts for any of it, right? Like that's just it would be so good. James White, if you're hearing this, send me an email, bro. Thecardguys@yahoo.com. You know my email. We've emailed before. Talk to me, buddy. We need to hash things out. Atlanta is calling your name.
That's great. Yeah, but they definitely need to announce something.
Please.
I'm ready to know where. I believe they announced one of the battle hardens today in the Toronto one, and I think they only are giving people 2 weeks notice, which is insane.
That's another thing.
That's insane.
I can't wrap my head around something like that too. It's like you give us these times and then you give us no time to do anything with it, right? So like it's just.
And I will say, Flesh and Blood does everything, I would say, better than Magic when it comes to events and everything. But I will say when Magic announced their new Pro Tour and everything, they said, hey, PTQs are going to be here, DreamHack Qualifier is going to be in Atlanta, and Pro Tour is going to be in Charlotte. Like, make your plans now, bud. You know, they laid it out on the table.
Yeah, dude, honestly, for real. I think it's a missed opportunity. Again, all bias aside, of course I'd want it to, be in there, but I literally think it's a great opportunity for the game if we do have something that is yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that because I could go on for a minute.
Yeah, if anything, I'll take a Battle Harden. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, give me a Battle Harden.
Yep.
You know what? I'm calling it now. I'm calling it right now. James White, next Furry Con in Atlanta, we are running a Flesh and Blood tournament at Furry Con.
No. I mean, see what's gonna happen is someone's gonna go there. They're gonna be the only one who attends, and then they're gonna win.
Oh, you saw that? You saw that for Magic? Yeah. That was wild.
Oh, I know.
That was crazy. But like, okay. Just give me a Battle Harden. That's it. That's all I ask. And if you want to give us more, please, Dad. Please, Daddy James White. Please, open arms. Give your son a hug. Right. Come on. We have questions, which shout out to the Card Guys Patreon. Dude, our fucking community over there is badass. We have like 50 subscribers now on Patreon, and we have like a little tight knit little community. It's a little precious. I could just put them all in my pocket.
I'm just saying. I think everyone in there is at least packing more than 6 inches. Like that's all I'm saying.
They have to.
They have to be. Like
for the people who are still here at this podcast right now, just know that you at least grow 2 inches. If you join the Patreon, patreon.com/the Car Guys, link in the description. It probably won't be in the description, but like it's easy. Results may vary, exactly. It's just like one of those medicine commercials that you see all the time.
Yeah, it's guaranteed, but it's not,
Exactly. And earlier today, I told everyone we're recording this episode, and we got some pretty cool questions. Obviously, one of the first topics somebody came up with was, how do you guys balance life and fab? And so obviously we led with that because that was a very good question. Thank you, Justin.
It was. Yeah, thank you.
Um, First question is from Daniel. Biggest surprise and disappointment so far in Uprising's release? Tournament results, heroes, etc. Any results or anything like that?
I personally have none. I think the set's good for CC draft blitz. I think
I
um
don't have any surprises. No, no.
no, like I pretty much knew Icelander was going to be good, but she was going to miss a little oomph, because they have to do the wizard on that Peter where it can't be too good because then it's broken and everyone's just playing wizard, and it can't be too low where you just can't play it. I feel like Icelander is going to be a medical deck like Kano was. I feel like Fi's going to be a crazy aggro deck like we knew he was that folds to disruption from Icelander, and then you have Jeremiah who's gonna do, a mid-rangey, grindy, red dragon deck. It's pretty straightforward so far.
I do believe, for the most part, limited experience wise, is very balanced.
Yeah,
Which
very
I think is
balanced.
what the angle that LSS wanted to take on this. It's very balanced. You definitely have different angles of where how you want to draft. You can play your seat. You can kind of read signs and kind of if you feel like you're ahead of someone in like a certain deck, you can keep drafting that and start cutting them off, and you still have a deck, and it just screws them. Like there's layers to this shit, right? And so
Exactly.
I do think the limited experience is great. Tourney results so far, I think all three
Like
heroes are
so far,
balanced in like CC, right?
yeah,
For the most part.
I think
Go ahead.
I will say that results not from Uprising meta, but not Uprising itself. I hate that Prism is a gatekeeper, and I'm so glad that that deck will be rotated soon. Because to this day,
Yeah.
I feel like strategies cannot exist because of Prism, which is gatekeeping the whole format. I feel like Dromai, she is she isn't as oppressive as Prism because she's doing illusionist shit, which is hard for Guardian and stuff. But I feel like that the way Prism plays is not healthy. It's the new not healthy deck, right? And I feel like
Yes.
once we get
Yes.
rid of that, we will have such a crazy wide open game, dude. Just imagine where you have Oldham, you have mid range back, you have, you know, just so much craziness back because like Prism's just not holding back certain strategies like Icelander, Oldham, things like that.
For
Kano.
sure. For sure. Um I have a question that actually ties into this. Once Prism Living Legends out, will we see a resurgence of Bravo? And the answer to that is absolutely.
Oh, I think that that is the probably the one deck in the game that makes every other deck like it has a good game into everything. It can block well, it can attack well, it it can go wide if you build it that way, it can go tall if you build it that way, it can go super defensive if you build it that way. And I think it just has game into everything except Prism where it hard folds. And the
Mm-hmm.
question is, segueing into the other question, do you build a deck like that has a terrible matchup? At what point do you just say, I don't care about this bad matchup. I'm gonna just beat everything else.
Yeah,
And
like a lot of people dedicate side slots. Like for example, if they're playing Oldham or Bravo,
yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, well, I have this entire package I put in against Prism." At what point do you say, "Fuck that! I'm just gonna just take my loss to the chin and then make every other matchup that much better."
exactly. Because in my opinion, it just like even if you add a like sideboarding, if you add sideboard cards, I think it gets it up to 30%. If you make your deck to beat Prism, I think you can
Maybe,
get up to a 40%. Right?
maybe,
It's like, am I
yeah,
really gonna change my whole deck to go to 40% against one bad matchup? If it's the whole meta, yes, right? You have to.
yeah. If
Or
it's the tier 0 deck, you have to, or the
you have
best deck in the format, you just have to.
but like let's say where I think Prism's gonna land, where Prism's gonna be a gatekeeper, but the aggro decks are gonna, keep up with her. I feel like in this upcoming format that you could just say, in the words of Andrew, fuck Prism. and
Oh yeah, for real.
not play it. Because
Hmm.
here's the thing. Prism matchup just got worse, I think, with Ghostly Touch. From what Justin Evans was telling me, that if Prism gets a second cycle and you popped like 12 things of theirs, like it's just over, man. They just summon that token and you just die. Like that matchup's atrocious. So why even try?
It's very true.
Okay, I'm taking an hour for a break. You know what I'm saying?
You know, like where you could have just finished the game in 15 minutes and then had an extra 40 minutes to like not have to worry about it. Like that's like micromanagement on like another level that you could like help yourself in the long term of a tournament, you know.
Or
Um
just straight up not play it, you know?
yeah. If
There's
something
no
like
point.
honestly, like if you have a deck and you're like, I love this deck so much, it's my pet deck. Shout out to Josh. And you know, there's a deck that's gatekeeping me, like Prism. Here we are. Hey, Josh, Dorinthia. At what point do you put the deck down? Right? Like, not. It's not even like what. At what point do I sacrifice that matchup completely? Like, if that's a front runner of the format, and like you have like, let's just say 60-40 or 50-50s throughout everything, but like the most represented deck in the room shits on your life, you might not actually just want to play that deck.
Yeah, I would say that in a meta
Screw it.
game, I rather play the deck that counters that one deck and has worse matchups across the board, and play something that beats a lot into the field and then has one auto lose matchup, right?
Yeah.
Like, as crazy as that sounds, that's usually what happens at tournaments. Like, look at Michael Hamilton. He brought in a deck that just like, you know, it just kind of like had good matchups in two of the three meta games, but it's like, okay, if this plays against Viserai, it's just an auto lose. That's it. Like, there's nothing I can do against OTK Viserai. And he won. He sacrificed just so he could have a good Starvo and chain match.
Yeah. I mean, we
And
saw
then
that.
he's like, yeah, and then he's like, okay, my Viserai match is like abysmal, and I have like a 30%, 40% into Prism. And he won in the finals against Prism. So there you go. You take those. You take those tunics, you know?
You yeah, you actually just have to. Um, that's enough of that question because sheesh.
Gee.
So shout out to Quack. He gave us a couple of really good questions. I kind of want to
He
touch on
did.
both of them. Now that I think about it, I want to touch on both of them. First one says, "Do you foresee an environment where FAB becomes more team focused and individual focused? Like 3v3 callings, for example." And then he asks, also, do you feel it becomes harder for individuals without being a part of a team to be competitive in this game? Um, First and foremost, I do want to see more 3v3 like callings and like 3v3 type of events. It promotes healthy interactions, and it just overall makes the game a lot more fun.
I
Especially
agree.
after everything I've heard from everyone else with the Las Vegas. Um, it seemed like nothing but a good time.
Oh yeah.
Um, and the metagame within a metagame within a metagame it also gets me excited. You know, like figuring out seeding and figuring out the meta and just, I feel like 3v3. If we could get like two or three, I guess you could say two. Two's the number. Two callings that are 3v3s, one CC, one blitz. I think it'd be great. I would even go as far as saying a 3v3 sealed unified where you have to make one of each hero and
Yeah.
out of 18 packs. I think that's cool as shit too. Like I think they should implement stuff like this because it promotes more interaction between teammates and building things or all that stuff. How do you feel about 3v3 stuff?
I feel like 3v3s are good, but I'm gonna more answer on the part of like, I feel the game. Do you have to be on a team to be competitive? And I'm gonna say there's two roads you can go down. Right? You can lone wolf it and play with a testing group, and that is completely fine. And I feel like for example, the card guys, we're sponsored, right? So it makes sense that we're on a team. But a lot of the teams out there are actually just testing groups that are wearing the same jersey, just having a good time being there. They're just a group of guys having fun. Now, obviously, like, the Team Dragon Shield team, that's a pro team. Like Card Guys were sponsored by a store and, have a Dragon Shield sponsorship. That's a reason to be on a team and to earn your spot. But the other teams, it, unless you're getting sponsored, it's a playtesting group. And I'm not saying that to belittle any other teams or anything like that. I'm saying that people blow up teams to be something like this huge, like, oh, if you're not on a team, this and that. If you are on a team, you have an ego. It's like, no, it's just like these are testing groups, and even within ourselves, even though we're sponsored, like we're just a testing group.
I mean, like we don't even have to get into that, right? Like it's just
Yeah.
like realistically, the reason we're a team is because I just have a fucking brand that's attached to it.
Yeah.
We're at the end of the day, like I'm playing card games with my best friends. I don't give a shit about the
Exactly.
team. Like in the end of it, like obviously it's my business, like it's something that I'm working towards, but I'm with people that I enjoy playing with, and that I invite. Like just for example, I like obviously we've added a few people to the team over the course of a while. Josh and Nathan. I met Nathan at a tournament, and I clicked it with he and I clicked. And I was like, dude, you're a badass motherfucker. And he was like, dude, you're a badass motherfucker. And I lost because I drew two all red hands in a row. And he was like, dang, man, we got to play in the finals now. I was like, yes, the fuck we do. And then he bails on me and then gets shit on in top four against his dash player. And then I shit on the dash player. And I was like, Nathan, come on, bro. And then like, we just had like this funny interaction where I was like, I like this guy. I want to, and then we got to see him more. And it just came,
Exactly.
we became friends from that. And then we were like, hey, man, like, you don't have like a huge circle. Come play with us. Same thing with Josh. And they were all for it because like we already saw each other every single like skirmish, RTN, ProQuest, any of that stuff. We saw them all the time. And so just getting to play Flesh and Blood with my friends is like that's the real reason I play this game. Is because it's
Exactly.
something I enjoy and it's something Alex enjoys, something you enjoy, something Nam enjoys. You know? Like don't people like you said blow the whole team thing out of proportion. At the end of the day, it's just to help promote my brand and label it as a team when we're just a group of playtesters. We just playtest together and we bounce
Exactly.
ideas off each other. Like you have to have a team to bounce ideas off of people. That's what the Discord is for. That's what you have so many outlets to get information. And like while it does discourage us some people to not be on a team, I think there's mindsets to this shit. Like
Yeah.
if that's the thing and you come to the conclusion like, oh well, my friends are on a team, but I'm not necessarily on a team, but I kind of want to be on a team. Have the mindset of I need to get better so I can get noticed by someone. If you really want to be a part of a test group and you put forth the effort to become better at the game, or if people can, you know, see that you're improving somewhat shape or form. Like that's a turning point, but like you have to have that mindset to do so. Like at the end of the day, a team is not like a team. At the end of the day, this is a Flesh and Blood is a 1v1 game for the most part
Yeah.
until UPF and every like obviously everything else happens, but like in the competitive scene, it's a 1v1 game. And that's just what it's always going to be.
Exactly.
But I'm getting off on a tangent. But like do I feel like it becomes harder for individuals? No, not in the slightest.
I I feel like you can still play online in online arm race. You can still go to locals, and through that, whether it's online or in locals, build a testing group just between people that are like-minded with you, and bounce ideas off them, and then eventually, like, because all a team is like you're just guys bouncing ideas off each other, and then during like pro tour season or a calling season that's coming up, if you have a secret deck tech, you just have an agreement not to share it with anyone
Yeah,
and make it public. Like that's literally all it is. And some people hate, oh no, you're keeping deck list away. It's like, yeah, sometimes if you like, for example, in Vegas, um, I was playing Razors in the deck. Alex said, hey, I'm gonna put, more Razor, more Tremor, and let's see how this deck rolls. And you know what? It turned out to be the meta call for the event, other than Prism. right? Didn't know that deck existed, but it turned out to be the chain metacall in all the chain mirrors for that event. And we just had an agreement, keep it between us. I believe we shared it with our Georgia community too. Like Sam was on the deck and his friend was on the deck, and we just played the deck we thought was doing well and kept it between ourselves and play tested it together. That's all it was. It's
Mhm.
nothing like, nothing special.
For
Just
sure.
like you said, a group of friends play testing.
Just playing a game we love, you know.
Exactly.
Um,
In the flesh and blood.
and the flesh and fucking blood, dude. Um, let's see. Got another question here. We'll keep this number 5 to last because I think that's something that I know you're
That's the
passionate
best send
about.
off. That's the
You
send.
you were passionate about this last one here. Um, funny one. How much better is he than me? How do I get on his level? That's a rhetorical question from Logan. And God, if I could just tell you that fucking story. You know what? I might tell you that story later on. As
I
like
feel like
a
we have to let it blow over for
we have
like
to let it blow over for a
sake.
little while first because that was crazy. Um,
But
I'm gonna leave this one on the back burner where we're gonna tell card stories and just like funny stories, and this is gonna be one of them. And I'm gonna write this down in a notepad. And we're gonna have an episode come out very soon where we just talk about card games and card
all I
stories
gotta
and
say,
hanging out
yeah,
with friends
all I gotta say is caught two guys on one, bro. Like,
on 2 or 3,
yeah,
maybe 4.
my brother in Christ.
So Notorious BLT, Mr. Sam Dando. Shout out to you, my guy. Played him. I had the pleasure of playing Mr. Sam Dando at round two or three. No, it was round 2 of the Indie Calling. It was the Viserai Briar match, and he and I had an insanely close match. He asked, "Sup, man? I want to know what aspects of this game bring you the most joy and inspire you to continue playing, making content, traveling, etc. It can be related to the actual game or the aspects surrounding it. I know with so much of my personal and professional life revolving around this game now, it can be hard for me to genuinely just enjoy sitting down and playing a game." Um, I think we kind of
Wow.
hit the nail on the head with that other question indirectly. I think it's a
Yeah,
very good question. Honestly, Sam, like it's the people you surround yourself with. That's what
exactly.
like that's what makes anything I do worth it in the end of, at the end of the day, right? Like and I know Sebastian's going to echo this for sure. I know you will. When we got to go to the Pro Tour, and I got to meet 2 of the people from literally across the world from where I'm at now. Shout out to Kaiser and Jack. Like that was the highlight of my year, is to get to actually sit down and talk to these guys from another fucking country altogether. So the opposite end of the world, and get to actually sit down and meet these people that I've talked to and played against online. Nothing beats that to me. Like
Yeah,
I am so happy that I got to experience Kaiser and Jack for sure. Like the people make this game 100%.
I
And I've always said it, like this is the best community I've ever been a part of as far as a card game goes. Pokemon toxic, Yu-Gi-Oh super toxic, Magic the Gathering very toxic. Like I've never ever like DBS was very very toxic because a lot of those other people came to this game. So like the people in this community obviously make it what it is, but like being able to travel with my friends, being able to drive 4 hours to a tournament, talk shit to my buddies the entire time, play in a tournament, go eat with people we haven't seen in a long time after the tournament, and just have good vibes the entire time. That's what makes everything worth it at the end of the day for me.
yeah, and
Everything.
I'm just gonna echo that I
Yeah,
feel
I know.
like if you are not, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like if you're not traveling for Flesh and Blood and going out to at least one of these big callings or pro tours or worlds a year, you're missing out. Like
You're missing out.
it's really an experience that you can't get anywhere else. I have stories from every single event, um, good or bad. They're stories and they're awesome.
Yeah, I've got a story that I thought of that I can't say out loud, but like that's the thing, right? Like that's the thing where we have these inside jokes from these stories where we've traveled all over the country, and now like Pro Tour is coming up in fucking Lille, so like obviously we're not gonna be able to go, but like Alex and Nam and everyone else can
Yeah.
share those experiences with us and we can live vicariously through them, and like they get to have that opportunity to go and go to another country to play a card game, dude. How freaking cool
It's
is
so
that?
wild. It's insane,
I
and
know
it's
that a
the
lot of
best.
people have done it, but like it's just the concept of being able to say I went to France or Lille, I guess is where it is, and I got to play Flesh and Blood at a professional level.
Yeah,
Like that's the coolest thing to me.
it
Coolest
really
thing.
is.
Um,
And another thing I want to add on to that is
sure.
what keeps me going in Flesh and Blood is I feel like Flesh and Blood, um, above any game really, when you put in time, it rewards you. And I feel like Flesh and Blood is one of those games that truly, as you play more and more, you feel like you're getting better and you understand more. And it's just insane how rewarding it feels to go to a tournament and then finally do well. Personally, it's only happened to me once where I traveled to one of these big tournaments and did well. But I will say that the months leading up to that, I feel like I was playing like the best Flesh and Blood ever I could have played, and I
I
still
agree.
had so much to learn.
I agree. I
And
agree.
I feel like that was payoff for me was doing all that tournament, and then hopefully in the future, like in our last episode, we talked about the process and everything, and just keep going at it, and you know chasing that dragon of success, and being just having fun and doing well.
Hit the nail on the head with that one, huh? You are not wrong. It's
I feel
honestly
like
a pretty neat thing.
I feel like we got this last question, but I feel like, man, this has been a great episode, and it's so many good questions, man.
Oh, I have another question I can put on here. You ready for it?
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me with it.
I mean, we went over this beforehand, to see what questions we want. I'm just gonna add it in because I know you wanted to talk about it, and you even said people aren't gonna like your answer. You know, I'm calling your bluff here. You're about to answer this question.
All right.
How do you feel about the LSS rulings change, not being able to intentionally concede to teammates anymore, especially with non-transfer invites at some events? So like pro
Um,
quests.
I'm gonna say that it's personally stupid because you're not gonna stop it, no matter what. Like, and the other thing is this. I'm gonna I'm gonna be honest. I have conceded to people that aren't my teammates to help them get an invite. I have conceded to my teammates to help them get invites. That is just part of card games. That is just like if you are a friend of mine or a local player and I have my invite and I'm queued up for the next pro tour or I can't go to the next pro tour or I already have my nationals invite, why would I take that away from someone?
Like yeah, and like top four for example, like if you're guaranteed your invite because you're a 100 XP or a top 100 XP, for example, like
Yeah,
you're already queued for the pro tour or whatever it is, and the person sitting across from you, as a good sport, like you don't even like consult them. You're like, hey, I'm gonna concede because like I already have my invite. Like sure, I would love to
exactly.
play for like the the win, but like at the same time, and this goes back to other things too. Like if it's a local player, then they'll be able to travel with us to these tournaments. You know, like
Exactly.
it I want everybody to be able to experience the stuff that we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Um, like for example, at I mean it happens all the time, right? Like I know what they're trying to get at. I know in the article it talked about people conceding in the finals but taking the gold foils for a second
Yeah.
place to give the invite. I, to be honest, I don't see an issue with that at all either. It's kind of the same thing. It's like just a redistribution of prizes. And to be fair, like they're talking about like collusion being cheating, and
It
I'm
it's not
not.
because I can just Okay, so here's the solve to it. If they enforce these rules, right? No blocks. How are you gonna stop that? All right, I'm gonna play my game. You're forcing me to waste 10, 15 minutes here, and I'm just gonna no block the whole game and give it to them anyway.
You know what?
I mean,
I'm just gonna bring a fake cup of coffee. Shout out to the first
exactly.
article that ever happened. I'm just gonna bring a cup of coffee and just put it on the table. I'm gonna be like, oh well, I guess I gotta concede. You know, like that
And
part of their thing. But like it,
the
I don't
crazy
know.
thing is this, right? That if someone wants to go to the pro tour or one of the pro tours or something, and they go, I don't care about that $500 that's in front of me, and the guy's already queued up. Why would he waste the guy's time giving him? Either way, something's getting wasted there, right? Because it's like the guy beats him, and then he gets the gold foil and a pro tour invite you can't use, and like that. Why would you do that? When you can both just leave super happy at the end of an event that like, okay, I got value, I was already queued up, awesome, and this guy got to go to the pro tour. And some people are like, well then if you're not good enough, it's like, dude, you got it to the finals, dude. Like sometimes flesh and blood matches are just blowouts and it's just luck of the draw. Like if you made it to the finals like with Oldham and you're playing Prism in the finals, it's like, okay, are you a bad player because you lost in the finals? Do you not deserve to be on the pro tour even though you could have went,
You
8
got the worst matchup
8-0?
in existence, and here you
Yeah,
are.
you went 8-0 and then you got your worst matchup because the bracket screwed you over. No, you still deserve you still deserve to go if that guy just wants to do it. If he's agreeing to it, then why not? Plus, how can you even complain about it when you can buy PTIs off people? Are we missing that point? And Flesh and
Yeah,
Blood allows that, so it's the same thing. Okay,
like
I'm just trading the gold foil.
sure these are non-transferable, but like I see what you mean. Like I agree completely. Um, I don't know. I think other people don't fully understand because this is that one of their first card games, or they're
Yeah,
one of those people. Shout out to Christian Gerties, much appreciation. But like, who's a stickler for the rules, right?
I understand it, but the craziest thing to me is when people aren't even in top 8 and they're like, "Are you guys not going to play it out?" It's like, how's this concern you, my brother in Christ? I'm doing my.
Jesus Christ. Like, I get it. Like, I do get to a certain extent. I understand. I understand this part. I understand scooping to someone in Swiss because it could screw up all of top 8. I get that. I get that
100%.
100%. Um,
Or setting up where nobody plays out top 8 to give someone the win. A hundred
exactly.
percent
I
understand that.
that is fucked, and I don't approve of that at all. Um,
Exactly.
but like for the top 8 nonsense, like I don't see it being a problem. But
Exactly.
if you are to take away someone else's chances in Swiss of doing it, that's where it gets murky, right? Like, don't do that. But I digress.
Oh, and if people are going, well, invites pass down. Um, XP invites don't pass down at the moment. So if you're guaranteed on XP and then you win that pro quest or whatever, you still get the invite and it doesn't pass down. That's what we're talking about. Um, Not necessarily if they've won a pro quest already and they go. If they have done that, I think it's also fine if they scoop in the finals. But we are mainly just talking about if I'm guaranteed on lifetime XP and I win a pro quest, I still get that pro quest invite from that tournament, and the second place does not, which is messed up.
Mm-hmm.
That's an invite that gets eaten up.
Exactly. Last question, Sebastian.
Yep.
And I feel like it might be a good one. Let me just check these just in case there's any more questions before we get to this one.
This was like a double header. We made up for all the time we missed out, man.
Dude, honestly, for sure. And I know a lot of people, the people that do shout to Logan, that do
Make
deserve
it
to
this
listen
far.
to more because we've come to the realization that people actually give a shit about what we have to say, and it's neat.
Yeah.
We appreciate it for sure. Nathan actually asked a question, and I know I'm getting all these questions. I want to just, I think the last question's like a maybe two-word answer, and like let's just keep it at that.
Yeah.
But I mean, with an extent. Nathan actually asked a question. Shout out to Nathan. Shout out to Daddy Crawford. Briar extraordinaire.
Yep.
How about the difference between playing and testing? How they are both great but serve different purposes. And then in quotations he says all reps are not created equal, especially when they have to play nom.
Amen.
Right, dude. Okay, so backstory real quick on the whole, especially when you have to include nom. So nom might be the worst testing partner in history.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And this is all jokes, but at the same time, it kind of is true a little bit because
for some reason, when there is nothing on the line, this man draws like a god. When there is nothing on the line at locals, at playtesting, for league matches, this man is literally fucking insane at the game.
He's a god.
He is a god, but it all comes from
a
out
god.
in matches. It's hilarious how it never happins in real life.
Oh, dude, it's actually weird. It's weird to think that, like, okay, so preface this before we answer this question. Start playtesting for nationals. Last year, we had this fucking. We were all on chain. Me, you, and Alex, all three of us were on chain, and we're like, okay, this deck is crazy. I don't think many people know about it, and so we're like, we're gonna fucking play chain. And then this Briar deck comes out. And we're like, oh, well, now we have this other option. But then we're like, we're going to stick with chain. So stick to what you know, right? Legitimately, Sebastian went like 0-12 against Nom. I couldn't beat Nom. You're how much?
I was literally 0-12.
Like Alex couldn't beat. None of us could beat Nom. Like literally, Nom
was like up 25 against chain in one weekend, and one before nationals, 1 weekend before nationals, he found this sick ass Bravo list that he made, and chain could not beat it.
Legitimately could not beat. Hell, even Briar couldn't beat it at some points when we were testing that deck. But so we were like, shit, if we can't beat Bravo, we shouldn't play chain. And so with a week left,
be a Prism Bravo Briar meta,
exactly. Well, like obviously we read a little wrong, but we were right to start off with. But then we all reneged and went straight to fucking Briar, and we all got shit on.
And then I dropped from nationals, played the calling, and went 7-1 the next day with chain. I was like, exactly. Oh, what I should have done in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. So, point is. Nom's the reason for everything. But Nathan asked, what is the difference between playing and then also testing? How are they both great, and how do they serve their purposes? This is a neat one because playing is just playing. Playing is going through the motions. Playing is like not having a care for the world, but also at the same time, you're going through the motions. So like repetition starts. And that's how playing translates to knowledge for playtesting. Does that make sense?
If you want to get good at the game, go to Road to Nationals RCC with your CC deck that you don't feel comfortable with, and play. And people are gonna be like, "You missed this trigger, you misplayed here," and you're gonna realize all this, and then you'll never forget these misplays or these triggers again, like missed triggers again. Shout out the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like personally, right? I know, getting a little off topic here. But my friend was like, "Hey, come try out this Magic tournament." I learned more about Magic the Gathering in that one tournament that was 7 rounds than any him showing me videos or online stuff. Just because I was fucking up, people wouldn't let me take it back, and I was like, never gonna have that happen again. And I'm saying with Flesh and Blood, the exact same thing. Go to a Comp REL event, get beat up,
learn
and learn. That's the best way to do it. And that's
the only way to do it.
That's the only way to do it.
I agree. Playing through the motions, playing and going through the motions is okay to help you with just the fundamentals, right? Like playing just helps with the fundamentals. Play testing goes into the theory and goes into how to play and how to wait and how to pitch stack and how to, keep points on 1, 2, and 3 things. And that's where those two things. Playing helps you with the fundamentals. Play testing helps you with the technical play. And
Exactly.
if you can master the mechanics of the game on a basic level, and once you figure that out, then play testing becomes a lot easier, and your technical play will flourish because of it.
Yeah,
I appreciate that question, Nathan,
I
because
do
I
too.
think that was a good one. And the last question, um, comes from Jeremy. Shout out to Jeremy. That's Mr. Ninth Place, right? That's my guy.
Yo, Jeremy, a 6-man draft pod scuff. Jeremy Chen quoted.
Oh God. Um,
That's what he said. He's like, man, I'm just gonna chop up this terrible draft to 6-man pod scuff. And I'm like, yep, that's what we're going with for the podcast this weekend.
oh
Quoted you.
God. That's funny. Shout out to Jeremy. Good kid. He asked, "Does belittle minnowism deserve to be banned?"
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And with that, we're gonna sign off.
When they say in the Pro Tour, ship it or send
Ship,
it or something.
ship it. Exactly. Ship it. Get the fuck out of here. We could literally talk another hour just about this. But, we're not going to, because I don't want to have to go through that. But yeah.
I will say, if you come to a tournament stinking, Kyle, you can say it. What's gonna happen if they come to a tournament stinking?
If you don't fucking brush your teeth, wash those pits, and wipe your ass, I'm going to call you out on social media. I'm going to find your Twitter. I'm going to find your Facebook.
Like,
You deserve to be called out. I'm warning you. That one fat guy behind me, that one fat guy behind me, he knew he smelled. And, I was half tired, so I was like, oh, I'm good. But, no prisoners now. I'm Dr. Squatch, I'm in your inbox. We're about to send care packages to smelly fuckers, okay? It's just how it's going to have to be. If I smell, please tell me.
We're about to hand them a fucking discount code.
Oh, dude. Yo, shout outs to fucking Dr. Squatch. Oh, man, Sebastian, bro, I miss doing this. I really do.
I do too.
We are surprisingly an hour and 12 minutes. I think it's probably one of our longer ones we've done. But we're going to get back at it. We have 2 CC events this coming up weekend. Next episode is going to be our thoughts on CC as a whole, since we're going to play 2 CC tournaments over the course of the weekend. And just give our thoughts. We're going to write stuff down. We might actually end up doing some podcast stuff in the vehicle. I don't know yet. Yeah. We got to figure that out.
Dude, that'd be wild.
Oh my God, just the 4 of us shooting the shit for an hour while we drive to Alabama or on our way back. I'm all for it. But yeah, guys, again, we fucking appreciate the love. We're just getting started with this podcast, and I think it's really neat that a lot of other podcasts that I've listened to, they've said some neat things about us, and I really appreciate, and I have a lot of love for the people who have shown us love. It's really neat to think that, we started this as just like a me and you just gonna do some shit, shoot the shit thing, and then people are actually enjoying it, and I enjoy making it. And I think that's what the most important thing is, right? Is you and I are enjoying it, and I think people feed off that. If we enjoy it, everybody else is gonna enjoy it. So
I will do this even with 10 people listening.
Oh, dude, for sure. I mean, that's what we have right now. So of course,
my little brother likes watching it and making fun about me. So
that's fine. Let them do it. Let them do it. It's free. It's free views, But yeah, so if you guys don't mind clicking subscribe on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/a lot of numbers and letters, because we don't have 100 subscribers yet. But please subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, we fucking love you, dude. And or dudette. And yeah, it's pretty neat. We're working on a logo and branding right now. We're going to come out with play mats and some merch soon. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that. I don't want to give out too much information about that, because I think it's going to be a pretty neat branding. So any final words before we get the hell off and do things?
Oh man. or don't pivot pack 2. My brother in Christ.
My brother in Christ, don't pivot pack 2. That'll do it for us, folks. You guys have a good rest of your day, afternoon, night, morning, whatever fuck you're at. Love you. Peace and love.